Good morning. I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
Tropical cyclone wind signal number 1 was raised over 10 areas across the country due to Tropical Depression Ada.
The Senate Blue Ribbon Committee will resume its investigation into alleged anomalies in flood control projects on January 19.
A fresh impeachment complaint is reportedly being prepared against Vice President Sara Duterte.
The peso plunged to a new record low of 59.44 against the US dollar yesterday.
First in the news, Tropical Depression Ada is expected to intensify into a tropical storm today as it moves over the Philippine Sea. Its center was last spotted 385 kilometers east-northeast of Hinatuan, Surigao del Sur. Ada may pass close to eastern Samar and northern Samar on Friday or early Saturday before approaching Catanduanes on Sunday morning. A westward shift in its path could bring possible landfall over eastern Visayas and the Bicol region. Several areas in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao are now under signal number 1.
With us now for the latest on Tropical Depression Ada is Pag-asa weather specialist Benison Estareja. Good morning, Benison. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Miss Angela, Sir Diego.
Alright, so ano-ano yung mga factors that are driving Ada's expected intensification to a tropical storm?
As we're seeing po sa ngayon, yung assessment natin kay Tropical Depression Ada, hindi siya talaga mag-intensify rapidly. No? We're seeing na in the next 24 hours or less, magiging tropical storm po ito. And throughout its approach dito sa may Bicol region and Eastern Visayas, nakikita natin na nasa tropical storm category pa rin ito at around 75 to 85 kilometers per hour. At malaking factor sa pagpigil ng paglakas pa niya is because of the presence of the northeast monsoon na siyang by nature naman po is hindi ganun ka-moist at saka po may kalamigan kaya napipigilan yung paglakas.
And itong pinag-uusapan ng westward shift, no? Ano yung how likely is this going to happen? And ano yung ibig sabihin nito for Visayas?
Yes, so far kasi ang mga bagyo po kapag ganitong panahon ng amihan, generally moving westward po, no, dahil nga malakas yung high pressure dito sa may middle latitudes above the Philippines. So kapag lumakas pa yung amihan, we're seeing na mas magwe-westward movement po itong si Bagyong Ada at nandyan yung possibility po na maglandfall ito dito sa may Samar Island or sa may Catanduanes. No? So hindi natin pa rin i-rule out po yan sa ngayon given na meron tayong cone of probability. But yung scenario natin based din sa latest track, yung pinakang certain po tayo sa ngayon ay yung close approach.
Oo. Pero while yun nga yung sinabi mo, yan yung kanyang track, itong si Ada, mararamdaman din yung mga pag-ulan dito sa Luzon. Tama ba?
Yes. Especially sa may Bicol region, they might experience po yung mga heavy to intense rains pagsapit po ng Friday hanggang Saturday as Ada approaches that region. Tapos yung ibang areas po ng Luzon, meron din namang pag-ulan even though ito'y galing po sa amihan. So yung Quezon, Aurora, Cagayan Valley, Cordillera region, diyan magkakaroon naman po ng mga light to moderate rains associated siya sa northeast monsoon.
How about sa Metro Manila?
For Metro Manila, we may experience din po yung northeast monsoon. So hindi naman tayo magkakaroon ng wind signal at hindi tayo directly maapektuhan po nitong bagyo. Ang effect po ng amihan sa Metro Manila is cloudy skies, tapos may chance po ng mga mahihinang ulan.
Oo, the reason why I asked that kasi yung sa Bicol area, binabantayan natin yan dahil doon naman sa Mayon Volcano doon, baka kasi magkaroon ng lahar. So, magkakaroon ba ng malakas sa mga pag-ulan doon?
So looking po yung ating forecast rainfall naman, starting po tomorrow noon time hanggang Saturday noon time, yun yung time kung saan pinakamalalakas po yung ulan dun sa may Albay. So yun yung time din na magkakaroon tayo ng banta for flooding, for landslides, at yun na nga po sa palibot ng Mayon yung lahar flow. So lagi tayong inabisuhan natin yung ating mga kababayan po doon na mag-monitor.
Okay, so hanggang kailan mananatili sa Philippine Area of Responsibility itong ADA?
Based po dun sa ating latest track, within the next 5 days, so possibly hanggang sa araw pa po ng Lunes, nasa loob pa rin ng PAR ang bagyo, nandito sa may silangan po ng Luzon. Yung extended scenario natin, marami pa rin pong pwedeng mangyari. Posibleng after that is humina na ito at maging low pressure air na lamang bago pa ito makalabas ng ating area of responsibility. At yung scenario kasi natin for next week po, magkakaroon tayo ng panibagong surge ng amihan. Ang influence kasi ng amihan sa mga bagyo, nagpapahina ito ng bagyo at eventually nagdi-dissipate at dahil doon sa pagpasok nga po ng malamig at tuyong hangin. So yun yung hopefully scenario ditong si Bagyong Ada.
Are we also monitoring other weather systems?
So far po, apart from the northeast monsoon na ditong bagyo, wala pa naman tayo nakikita any other weather disturbance na papasok ng ating bansa until the end of January.
Benison, no, parang it's not usual o hindi ganoon ka-normal over the past few years na magkaroon tayo ng bagyo at start of the year ng January. Is it because of yung pinag-uusapan na climate change? And kung wala yun, most probably ito dapat yung bagyo nung 2025 na huli lang. Tama ba?
Yes, yung last po kasi na merong January na bagyo ay 2019. Si Ambu po ata ito kung hindi ako nagkakamali. At yung factor kasi for presence of a bagyo ngayong January 2026 is because nandyan pa rin naman po yung nandyan pa rin naman every year talaga yung every January yung possibility na magkakaroon tayo ng isang bagyo. No? It so happened na natapat lang siya ngayong 2026. At nag-contribute din somehow po yung climate change, which means maaring mas frequent yung mga bagyo, or yung La Nina phenomenon na present po sa ngayon. Weak La Nina po ang status natin. So yung result or impact po ng La Nina is yung mas marami kumpara sa normal na mga bagyo.
And of course, yung lagi natin tinatanong dito, pag ganitong season, amihan season, hanggang kailan natin mararamdaman yan?
Yung amihan naman po, we're expecting naman na magpapatuloy pa rin yung malamig na panahon sa atin pagsapit po ng February. And then, on the latter part ng February hanggang early March, meron pa rin namang amihan, but then pahina na po siya. Tapos mostly mga northern and central Luzon na lang yung maapektuhan.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, Pag-asa Weather Specialist Benison Estareja.
In other news, senators are pushing forward on multiple priorities overseeing the 2026 education budget, advancing key legislation, improving alleged government irregularities. Mobile journalist Merimon Reyes reports.
As the Philippines' national budget for fiscal year 2026 has been approved by President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and priority bills and transparency efforts from the government are underway, Senate Basic Education Committee Chair Bam Aquino challenged the Department of Education and the Commission on Higher Education to ensure the full use of its historic 1.34 trillion fund. This includes the construction of new classrooms, expansion of the free college law, increased student allowances, and expansion of the school-based feeding program. Aquino also awaits the final leg of his written Cadena Act, which strengthens accountability in public spending through a blockchain-based digital budget system.
They're responsible to the Filipino people, they're responsible to the Filipino students. At babantayan ng Committee on Basic Education yung tamang paggamit ng pera. Walang ghost project, walang ghost student.
Meanwhile, Senator Jinggoy Estrada has filed a legislative measure seeking to criminalize red tagging, known as Senate Bill number 1071 or the proposed Anti-Red Tagging Act. It recognizes red tagging as a threat to a person's life, liberty, and security, which often precedes abduction, harassment, or even extrajudicial killings. Supposed to protect citizens from unwarranted harassment or persecution from being labeled as communists, it imposes as penalties a 10-year imprisonment term and lifetime banning from holding public office from those found guilty. And yesterday at the Senate, Senate President Pro Tempore and Blue Ribbon Committee Chair Ping Lacson announces the continuation of the committee's inquiry on the anomalous flood control projects set this coming Monday. Among the issues to be tackled are the Cabral files with the DPWH, former DPWH Chief Manny Bonoan's deliberate sending to the Malacanang erroneous information linked to flood control projects, and reports that former House Speaker Martin Romualdez purchased a house and lot in a subdivision in Makati using Curly and Sara Diskaya as fronts. With this, the committee plans to speak and invite the former owner of the property.
Kung siya yung lumalabas na bumili, ganun na lang kalaki ang tiwala kung totoo ha, so hindi ganun kababaw yung kanilang yung kanilang samahan.
Bili ng bahay, kinonfirm po yun nung may-ari, nung dating may-ari na si former Speaker at Vizcaya yung bumili.
Through third parties. Nagkikwento niya nga yan eh. Kasi ang isa sa mga kwento, nung mapanood ng mga maid, sinatis kaya rito, ma'am, yan yung bumili ng bahay mo.
When asked about Senator Bato de la Rosa's whereabouts, Lacson said he has not yet spoken with the senator. Lacson added, De La Rosa's hiding doesn't make sense as no arrest warrants are officially issued against him.
Kung ako siya, papasok na muna ako. Unless positive siya talaga na meron siyang warrant, diskarte niya na yun. Diskarte naman ng law enforcement, hanapin siya. Kasi I have no moral ascendancy na sabihin sa kanya mag-turn over yung sarili niya. Kasi ako mismo nagtago.
Kapatid mobile journalist Mary Mon Reyes, we are One News.
Okay, so maraming trabaho ngayon ng Senado.
But first of all,
aside from the controversy, but of course the budget. No?
Of course, yung education. Madami kasing binabantayan sa education eh. And number one, yung paggagawa ng classroom, which is shifted already to the responsibility of LGUs tsaka DepEd. Tapos number two, of course, yung teacher-to-student ratio. Isa pang issue yan. And then naghahabol tayo sa mga literacy ratings natin na medyo bumaba. Diba? So with this budget, it is expected na may improvement. Pero there are several groups are doubtful na hahabol tayo sa ratio in terms of classroom. Kasi matindi ang backlog. Malayo na yung backlog.
Kasi supposedly, may mga dapat ginawa during the term of Vice President Sara Duterte as a DepEd Secretary. Pero parang kulang ata dun sa kanilang vision, dun sa goal. Diba? So parang yun yung kaya nakikita nila yung medyo mahirap na gawin niya. But of course, this is the historic high nga na sinasabi nila ng budget para sa Education Department, which is according to the Constitution, dapat naman talaga mataas ang budget.
Pero yung
pinakamataas. Pero naging controversial nga yung budget ng DepEd last year. Kasi nga, di ba, hindi ganun kataas. As parang nalagyan nila ng ibang mga education sector para lang masabing mataas yung budget ng DepEd.
Tsaka sabi ng ibang economists, yung word historic high, medyo misleading yan. Kaya mas biggest in history, it's because in-adjust nila for inflation.
Inflation ngayon.
Pero if you're going to make it, if you're going to hit it down towards yung expenses versus yung quality na malalabas mo, almost the same daw ang ratio. It's just that, syempre, with inflation, tataasan mo lang yung
parang
ano mo.
rin naman din yan sa mga corruption cases, di ba? Yung mga presyo dati, na pinag-uusapan na nakokorrupt during the PDAF scam, di ba? Yung mga Napoles era, pinag-uusapan 10 million, 20 million, ganyan. Ngayon, billion na pinag-uusapan na.
Inflation nga yan.
Oo. So, we're also looking forward doon sa, not controversial, but talked about bill written by Senator Bam Aquino, yung kanyang Kadena Act. So basically, think of it daw as a public digital ledger na you will see all of the priority and ang tawag dito, mga projects ng gobyerno will be there.
Mapapantay mo, ano,
parang portal
every step
sa
of the way.
budget portal.
Blockchain kasi yan
They will use blockchain technology.
Blockchain kasi meaning every step of the way, makikita mo yung process. Anong step sa process na, anong nangyayari. Updated na yan. Alright, Senators Ping Lacson and Amy Marcos are trading barbs as a war of words erupts over budget issues, claims of personal attacks. Here's the report.
Senator Amy Marcos is showing no signs of slowing down as she continues to release a series of barbs on her social media accounts, this time over the 2026 national budget.
Pag malalaki ang tipak, mahirap isilid, parang pork barrel. Kaya ang ginagawa, hinigiling.
Her comments eventually turned into jabs at Senate President Pro Tempore Ping Lacson. Senator Marcos even delivered this in a game show-style video. She asked what word starting with the letter P describes a politician who often switches parties just to stay in power. Her answer?
P! Nako, political butterfly yan. Mali. Ang tamang sagot ay pink. Pink? Mali ang dinig mo, Senator. Ang sabi ko, pink. Diba? Nagpapalit-palit ng kulay. Yellow, naging pink. White sa mga rally, pero yung pink, parang ganun din.
Senator Marcos earlier said that Lacson appeared irritated with her over her previous statements on aid programs. She even claimed that Senator Ping's anger could lead to a hair-pulling match. But Senator Lacson seemed unable to hold back.
Magsabunutan daw kami. Yan ang reaction ni Senator Amy Marcos sa issue ng di umano ay pork barrel sa 2026 GAA. Hindi po piluka ang aking buhok. Idugtong ko na rin na walang peke sa mukha ko. Hindi rin pustiso ang ngipin ko. My teeth are all mine. Ulitin ko, walang peke sa anumang bahagi ng aking mukha.
After Amy brought up the idea of a hair-pulling incident, Lacson insisted that the senator may be thinking he is gay.
Lalong hindi ako bakla. At kung iniisip ni Senator Amy na bakla ako, wala siyang maaring makita na macho dito sa mundo.
Lacson said he has no problem with homosexuals, stressing only that he considers himself very much a man.
I have nothing against homosexuals. It is their choice and I respect them for that. But as far as I'm concerned, kahit hindi ako kagwapuhan, para sa akin, masarap pa rin na maging tunay na lalaki. At tulad ni na Tito Soto at Gringo Hunasan, macho din po ako. Lalaking lalaki. Period.
Senator Marcos quickly fired back on social media. She insisted that she never said Senator Lacson was gay. She added that there is nothing wrong with being gay, and nothing wrong with wanting to enhance or change something about yourself. Senator Marcos further said that it is a person's decision if they want to have any procedure done, and also their decision if they want to ruin their face, name, and dignity. She said the common question in both cases is, how much? As of this report, Senator Marcos has yet to address other issues raised against her.
A group of medical doctors and lawyers is set to file a criminal case against former Finance Secretary and now Executive Secretary Ralph Recto. We go live now to Mobile Journal, Arles de los Santos, for the latest. Arles, what do we know so far about the case? Good morning.
Angela at Diego, so far nandito na nga nakapag-file na ng reklamo ang ilang mga grupo, ang Ilonggo Doctors and Lawyers at mga health advocates para nga nila mapanagot yung mga may kinalaman o dapat mapanagot doon sa illegal na paglilipat ng pondo ng PhilHealth sa National Treasury. Kasama nga dyan sa dating Department of Finance Secretary at ngayon ay Executive Secretary Ralph Recto at yung Pangulo ng PhilHealth dahil nga sa nila ay hindi tama na paglilipat ng pondo nito. At bit-bit yung itong kanilang mga dokumento, naghain nga sila ng reklamo dito sa Ombudsman at pinasisilip kung posible nga ba na makasuhan ng mga kasong paglabag sa technical malversation, violations of the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, plunder at grave misconduct, kaugnay ng 60 billion pesos na PhilHealth reserves na inilipat sang-ayon na rin sa Department of Finance Circular number 003-2024 at yung tinatawag nga yan na excess funds daw ng PhilHealth na inilipat sa National Treasury para gamitin sa program appropriations sa ilalim na din ng GAA noong nakaraang taon. Kung saan nga nagkaroon ng 3 tranches ang paglilipat ng 89.9 billion pesos kung saan 60 billion pesos na ang na-transfer kung saan yung natitirang 29 billion ay hindi nailipat matapos maglabas ng temporary restraining order ang Korte Suprema para pigilan nga itong paglilipat ng pondo na ito. Angela.
Okay, Arles, how confident itong grupo na to na magiging favorable sa kanila itong kaso na kanilang inihain against Secretary Ralph Recto, wherein kasi ang naging desisyon ng Supreme Court doon sa PhilHealth Fund Transfer ay sinasabing wala siyang criminal liability, because he is presumed acted on good faith.
Angela, sa ngayon nasa second floor pa lamang sila, hinihintay natin na bumaba sila dito para nga mabigyan tayo ng tugon sa kanilang reklamo na ito, Pero in goodwill naman daw yung kanilang pagpasasampa ng reklamo dito sa Office of the Ombudsman at nais lamang mapanagot talaga yung dapat mapanagot dito. Dahil kung matatandaan natin, Angela, sa unanimous na desisyon ng Korte Suprema, ipinag-utos nga yung pagbabalik ng 60 billion pesos na pondo na nauna nang inilipat sa National Treasury, Gayon din yung pagpapawalang bisa sa provisions number 1 ng GAA at ng Finance Circular number 003-2024 na inilabas ng posible daw na may pag-abuso sa desisyon na katumbas ng kawalan o kalabisan ng jurisdiction nito. Gayon din yung paglabag, yung paglilipat ng pondo ng PhilHealth, ito daw ay paglabag sa Section 11 ng Universal Healthcare Act dahil dapat daw ang pondo ng PhilHealth ay marapat na ilagak lamang sa pagpapahusay ng benepisyo ng mga benepisyaryo at pagpapababa ng kontribusyon nito. Dagdag pa ng mga nag-file dito, Angela, na Ilonggo doctors, lawyers at health advocates, aabot na raw sana sa 50 million pesos yung tutubuin na pera ng pondo ng PhilHealth kung hindi ito inilipat sa National Treasury na magagamit daw sana para mapahusay ang benepisyo ng mga benepisyaryo ng PhilHealth at mapababa ang mga kontribusyon nito.
Siguro, Alice, ang maganda mamaya, if you have a chance to talk to them, tanungin natin kung aware sila yung provision na walang criminal liability dito, because parang ang summary ng Supreme Court, parang sinasabi nila, ito sa matter of interpretation on the part of Secretary Recto at that time, and they're merely stating na hindi na pwede ito mangyari ulit, no? I don't know if they're just putting this on record, pero para ma-clarify natin if they're aware of it, Arles.
Tama dyan. Kasama naman yun sa kanilang, I believe dito kasi sa binigay nilang media briefer, I believe they're aware of it naman. At kahit sa utos ng Korte Suprema, sinasabi na hindi naman doon nilinaw o tinukoy kung meron nga bang pananagutan. But at least for them, yung mga nasa gobyerno, yung mga nasa pamahalaan, dapat masilip din kung ano nga yung kanilang pananagutan dito sa naging paglipat ng pondo. Diego.
Arles, may narinig ka na bang response from Secretary Recto?
Sa ngayon, Diego, wala pa. Pero nauna na nagbigay ng pahayag si Recto dahil hindi ito yung unang pagkakataon na may nagsampa ng kaso dito sa Office of the Ombudsman patungkol dito sa paglilipat ng pondo at ipinapaubayan na daw sa Solicitors General magiging hakbang dito dahil in good faith naman daw yung paglilipat ng pondo dito at ginagawa lamang ito para nga sa ikabubuti at ikahuhusay ng administrasyon.
Okay, so para lang malinaw tayo, yung unang nag-file ng case against Secretary Recto ay yung grupo ng Save the Philippines Coalition. Tama,
yes.
Arles? Tapos
Tama.
ngayon,
Tama,
sino-sino ba itong mga grupo ng mga medical personnel na ito na nagsampa ng kaso this time around versus ES Recto?
Ito ay coalition, Angela, ng mga doctor, health advocates at mga lawyers, at PhilHealth members actually, sila yung mga nagpunta rito at nagsampa ng reklamo.
Meron ba tayong kilalang personalidad na sumusuporta dito sa grupong ito na sumama dyan ngayon?
Sa ngayon, iniintay pa natin yung kanilang pagbaba dito, Angela, and we're hoping na magkaroon ng panayam kasama sila.
Alright, sige, balikan ka namin para sa iba pang update. Maraming salamat sa iyong balita, Mobile Journal, Arles de los Santos. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. Authorities have launched an intensified manhunt for Atong Ang and another co-accused in connection with the missing Sabongeros case. Here's the report.
The Philippine National Police is actively searching for businessman and gambling tycoon Charlie Atong Ang. Ang, along with at least 17 others, was ordered arrested by the Santa Cruz Regional Trial Court Branch 26 in Laguna in connection with the missing Sabongeros case. The charges include 10 counts of kidnapping with homicide and 16 counts of kidnapping and serious illegal detention.
We have certain procedures in implementing warrant of arrest, hindi lang warrant of arrest, at different police operations. This is a implementation of warrant of arrest. Meron tayong procedure, and the PNP personnel, all PNP personnel involved are, of course, mandated na sundin ito. At gagawin nilang lahat para ma-implement. Tukoy ang ating warrant of arrest or location of Charlie Atong Ang, different location, and it will be served in those locations.
On Wednesday, PNP CIDG officers went to Ang's registered address in Pasig City to serve the arrest warrant. At first, no one seemed to be there in the house until Ang's lawyer appeared, claiming his client was not there.
We have to have
Paano kung may mangyari dyan sa loob?
Wala naman.
How can you be
It's
sure?
just the service of,
Ma'am,
of an arrest
ma'am,
warrant.
this is a-
Sir, and
exactly, this is a
wala
service
rin
of-
dito yung kliyente ko.
How can we be sure? Titingnan po namin.
Papayagan namin kung may pumasok. Although hindi naman kailangan, pero to show good faith and good
Ma'am,
will,
kailangan naman.
I am
Kailangan po,
allowing-
hindi po pwede.
No, pero
Kailangan po.
hindi naman search warrant.
Kailangan po.
A separate team also attempted to serve the warrant at Ang's farm in Batangas, but he could not be located. So far, several suspects have been taken into custody. 7 civilians and 9 police officers who were already under restrictive custody before the issuance of their warrants.
Before nangyari po ang anong ito, they are already under surveillance and they are arrested. Some of them are security, some of them are employees nung yung sabungan. Right after na makuha po namin, we will be returning the warrant sa court. And it is up to the court kung saan po ang sila madidetain.
Only Ang and a dismissed police officer remain at large. The CIDG is urging Ang to surrender peacefully.
I asked Mr. Atong Ang to peacefully surrender na lang. He has participated peacefully doon sa conduct of the investigation with the Department of Justice. He may just face peacefully.
So hindi ko alam kung kailangan i-clarify din, is he missing, and also in other words, wala siyang communication whatsoever, or meron ng contact at may intent pero hindi pa clarified.
Yun, wala pa, hindi, kasi parang ang statement pa lang na lumabas from his legal counsel saying na this is trial by publicity and that they are still waiting for the motion na final, diba, nila to reverse the DOJ resolution. Yun pa lang yung nangyayari. Yun pa lang yung sinasabi ng lawyer niya, no, si Attorney Gabriel Villarreal.
O, tsaka ang
and
sinabi
he
niya,
said premature and legally questionable itong arrest warrant.
Sito yung girl?
No, yung kanyang lawyer, oo.
Yun yung babae sa interview, di ba?
I'm not sure. Kasi yung unang lawyer na interview ko before, old guy na Gabriel Villarreal. So, I don't think that's
Itong lawyer nito, sinasabi, he is not in the premises na pinuntahan ng PNP. Pero hindi ko naman narinig sinabi na hindi alam kung saan. So, we'll clarify that later on.
So, they searched 17 locations.
Wala
Known
pa rin.
locations of Atong Ang sa properties, wala nga siya. And according to Bureau of Immigration,
still here.
Andito pa naman siya sa Pilipinas. Not unless, di natin sinasabi na ganun talaga, but there is possibility, knowing na he is powerful and whatever, diba? And other people have done it already, na kung lumabas na siya under back channel. That we don't know as well. But we also need to look into that as well, diba? Kasi di natin din alam. But today, if I'm not mistaken, they're going to release an HDO, hold departure order. Kasi it's very clear that there's an arrest warrant that he needed to be diba, surrender doon sa kung saan siya, ma-surrender siya sa mga pulis, kung wala siya, kailangan talaga lumabas itong hold departure order against him. So siya na lang yung natitira doon sa ibang co-accused siya at saka isa pang police officer na dun sa mga co-accused na hinahanap pa at na may arrest warrant.
Alright, business tycoon Enrique Razon Jr. has filed a cyber libel complaint against suspended Cavite Congressman Kiko Barzaga before the Makati Prosecutor's Office. The complaint cited Barzaga's January 9 Facebook post, which called Razon the mastermind behind the corruption in Congress, and accused him of bribing members of the National Unity Party to support former Speaker Martin Romualdez. In response, Barzaga said he is prepared to face the case in court.
Fresh impeachment moves are reportedly underway against Vice President Sara Duterte, with complaints allegedly set to include the testimony of Ramil Madriaga. Here's the report.
A fresh impeachment complaint is reportedly being prepared against Vice President Sara Duterte. Former Senator Antonio Trillanes said civil society groups and certain sectors of the church will lead the filing.
Ang aking impormasyon, ang magpa-file nito ay mga members ng civil society, ng simbahan, basically the same sectors na nag-file last year laban kay Sara na naudlot niya.
Trillanes noted that the complaint will include the testimony of Ramil Madriaga.
ang isang na alam ko rito ay bukod doon sa impeachment allegations na kasama doon sa last year, ang madadagdag dito ay yung mga aligasyon ni Mr. Madriaga para malaman din kung totoo ba ito o hindi.
In an affidavit, Madriaga alleged he served as a bagman for the vice president. He also claimed that drug dealers and POGO operators funded the Inday Sara Duterte is my president campaign. Meanwhile, ACT Teachers Party List Representative Antonio Tino said the Makabayan bloc will endorse another complaint, which will be filed by Bagong Alyansang Makabayan or Bayan. The complaint will again cite betrayal of public trust as its basis.
Tinitignan lang natin na baka madagdagan dahil may mga bagong impormasyon na pumasok. Essentially yung kay Madriaga kasi mukhang may additional information siya. Particularly dun sa kung ano nangyari dun sa 125 million na nagastos in 11 days noong December 2022.
Tino added that they plan to ask the Supreme Court to rule on the motion for reconsideration of Duterte's previous impeachment case, which was declared unconstitutional. A third group, reportedly composed of lawyers, priests, and other religious leaders, is also expected to file an impeachment complaint against the vice president. Trillanes said one of the filings may take place on February 6. For his part, Bicol Saro Party List Representative Terry Redon said any complaint will be carefully reviewed and deliberated by the House Committee on Justice.
At this point, let's talk to Dr. Dennis Coronacion of the UST Department of Political Science. Doc, thank you for joining us again.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
All right, Doc. Of course, alam natin yung naunang impeachment complaint ni VP Sara naka-archive sa Senado, pending yung MR ng Supreme Court. Pero sinasabi ni Senator Trillanes, may bagong info tayo So ipapasok na lang natin dito at itong new impeachment complaint ang ifa-forward natin, no? And I'd like to ask you the question, ano yung magiging impact na naman nito in terms of, itong stability ng ating bansa by filing a new impeachment complaint and with the looming complaint against President Bongbong Marcos?
Well, nakita naman natin yung yung nangyari when the first impeachment complaint was filed against the Vice President. It was really widely talked about in our country. But then again, I think there was not so much impact in terms of, kung isipin natin, economic impact. Hindi naman naramdaman last year. But this time around, we're not just talking of the possibility of yung refiling of the impeachment complaint against the Vice President. But as you said, it's also possible that there's some sectors are going to file an impeachment complaint against the president. Now, this one, kapag nagkasabay yan, yun ang di pa natin alam kung ano magiging impact. Kasi kapag sabihin na natin na, hypothetically speaking, number one, kapag ongoing yung impeachment trial sa Senado, kung magpa-prosper man sa House of Representatives yung impeachment complaint and the president is going to be impeached, so magsasabay yan. So yung the Senate, our senators are going to be very busy.
Yes.
Holding those simultaneous impeachment trials. Ngayon, in the event na kung pareho silang ma-impeach, sabihin natin na mako-convict sila pareho, the president and the vice president. So what's going to be the scenario? I think there's going to be a leadership vacuum. But only for a while. Kasi sinabi na naman ng Constitution natin kung sino yung mga papalit. We have a clear line of succession based on our Constitution. But nevertheless, it's going to increase the already polarized character of our politics. Mas magiging intense. Plus, it's going to put the reputation of the Senate in the line. Kasi kapag isa lang in-impeach nila, sasabihin ng mga tao, kumampi sila kay ganito, kay President.
Yes, oo.
Ay, kumampi sila kay Vice President. So, clearly divided na yung linya, Okay, pag pareho namang inakwit, sasabihin ng mga tao, paano na yung accountability?
That's right.
So, ang dami ang daming possible scenarios, and it's definitely this year is going to be an eventful year.
Yes, Doc, sa level pa lang ng Congress, if you have two complaints, one for the President, one for the Vice President, sa tingin mo, dito natin makikita maglalabasan ng mga political lobbyists na palitan ng boto, di ba? Wag mo boto, hindi ko rin boboto, or boto mo, boto ko to. Dito matetest yung loyalty, given also this is the lame duck stage of PBBM.
Yes, tama ko kayo dyan. Kahit wala pa sa Senado, nandun pa lamang sa House of Representatives, whether committee level or plenary level na yan, makikita mo that there's going to be a test of loyalty for the members of the House of Representatives. Siyempre, pag boboto sila, hindi naman sila boboto solely based on the merits of the case.
Yes, oo.
Isipin rin nila yung kanilang mga political careers. So titingnan nila kung sino ba ang sa dalawang ini-impeach na to, kung sakaling pareho sila ma-impeach, si President and Vice President, kung sino sa dalawang ito ang pwede makatulong sa 2028 sa mga political careers sa mga congressmen na to. So that's going to be a factor definitely. Binanggit nyo, lame duck president, nangyayari na yan. I think even right after the midterm elections, naramdaman agad yan ng Pangulo, no? Kaya nga nagkaroon siya ng expose regarding the corruption to chastise, to discipline, and to control his political group. Because some members had already left him, lumipat sa kabilang kampo. So again, test yan. Plus, in addition to that, yung pagiging lame duck president niya, yung budget, kasi incentive yun I think that became part of the incentives na binigay sa mga congressmen natin for them to vote in favor of impeaching the Vice President last year. Ngayon, under scrutiny yung 2026 budget, lalo pa yung ina-allege ni Senator Amy Marcos, sabi niya, giniling na daw to, corned beef, ano man. Pero ang allegation niya doon, ini-imply niya is that a portion of the 2026 budget might be allocated for the impeachment of the, as an incentive for the, impeachment of the Vice President.
Well, talking about test of loyalty, do you agree with Senator Win Gatchalian saying na itong mga impeachment proceedings may face stiffer resistance on both chambers dahil nga ang mga pro-Duterte supporters among legislation or legislators are increasing at this point?
Well, yes, increasing. Yung mga pro-Duterte lawmakers, kasi nga, our lawmakers have begun to think about their political career by 2028. So, nagka-calculate na sila. Kaya nga lang, I doubt it if at this point, the pro-Duterte lawmakers already have the numbers. Do they already have what it takes para maipasa, ma-impeach yung president? On the part of the president, may mga constraints din siya, like yung budgetary constraint, tapos him being a lame duck president. So, baka nagsishift na yung loyalty ng mga allies niya sa House, lumipat na sa kabilang kampo. So baka mawala yung kanyang supermajority.
Kasi sa Senado pa lang, 8 na kaagad Yung nakikita mo doon na based on the statements and alliances, 8 na agad yung pro-Duterte.
Pero bawas ka dahil wala si Bato.
Yun nga lang, wala siya. Pero do you think somehow itong flood control mess na ito may have been a factor para dito sa mga politiko na to do a reassessment of their alliances because of the 2028 election as well? Na, teka muna, the way it was being handled right now by the administration, hindi nagugustuhan ng tao. So, teka, mag-isip muna ako. Reassess ako ng political alliances ko. Prof.
Well, it could be based on moral grounds, kung ethical ang ating mga congressmen. Pero I think ang impact
yung word doon, Prof.
Kung.
Yeah, kung yun ang mangunguna, yung moral and ethical considerations. But most of our congressmen or lawmakers, I don't think that way. Siyempre, unahin muna nila yung interest na. So, in connection with the flood control probes, maraming na-damage sa kanila dyan Kasi na-mention yung mga pangalan nila. during the investigation. So damaged goods na sila. So ang problema nila by 2028 is how to redeem themselves, how to clean their names.
That's right, oo.
So, isa yan. Pangalawa, yung budget sana na dapat malaki, binito ng presidente, 92 billion. That could have been spent for their constituents. So baka magtampo yung karamihan ng mga kaalyado ng Pangulo sa House of Representatives. Dahilan upang humina ang kanilang suporta para sa Pangulo.
Could it be also, Doc, na kaya madaming sinasabing lawmakers sa lower house na medyong nagre-rethink ng alliance kay PBBM dahil kay Duterte, medyong alam nila na mataas ang numero to win the presidency? It's because wala rin naman tayong clear runner for president sa side ni PBBM. Wala pang lumalabas.
Or any other side.
Diba? Ang malinaw lang sa lahat is VP Sara, so mataas ang numero. But diba, technically, pag may mag-declare already on the side of the admin and we don't know who it is at medyong tumaas din ang numero at mag-challenge sa numero ni VP Sara, then you'll have lawmakers also possibly veering back to support PBBM.
Yes, that's possible. Kasi at this stage, no one from the administration or the president's allies has openly declared na tatakbo siya bilang presidente. Maraming mga paramdam, mga feelers like si Secretary Remulla of PILG, parang hindi niya clearly nire-reveal na siya itatakbo. Paramdam lang, sabi he's open to it. Tapos sa part naman ng Progressive Bloc, andyan si Senator Rizon Tiveros na nagsabi rin naman. Kaya nga lang ang dito, since no one has openly declared on the part of the administration na tatakbo sila sa presidential candidate, yung surveys tend to lean towards the Vice President. Kasi I think it's part of the nature of the surveys na kung sino yung malinaw na nagdedeklara na tatakbo sila, very clear na very determined.
Yes,
yung ang tumatatak sa isipan ng mga tao, yung mga respondents sa survey. Kaya at this point, favorable kay Vice President.
Tama ka, Doc. And lalo na ngayon, puro chismis pa lang ang umiikot na possible alliance between the Pinks and PBBM. So, medyong hindi pa certain ang mga factions, political factions.
That's right. Pinag-uusapan yan, yung possible alliance between the two political groups. But alam niyo naman yung sistema, yung nature ng ating electoral system.
Yes.
Pag presidential candidate, hindi nagiging dalawa lang. Historically speaking, marami, 5, 8.
May tulfo pa tayo.
May tulfo pa. Usually, ang mga pinipili po yung mga nagtatap sa mga yung mga elections, senatorial elections. Kasi it's a test of popularity. It's an indication of popularity, winnability.
Yes, that's right.
Pag ka sa mga senatorial elections na yan.
Okay, so do you also believe na, let's say for example, dito sa talks of impeachment kay Vice President Sara Duterte, if the evidence is, obvious and damning talaga, wala namang choice na ang mga politiko, whether kung ano yung political alliance nila, but to investigate and support the impeachment against Vice President Sara Duterte. Pero kung hindi ito talaga medyo malabo sa tingin nila, doon magkakaroon ng reassessment.
That's right. Kung malabo yung evidence against the Vice President, I think the consequence is that the effect is going to be is that it's going to give our lawmakers a lot of leeway to maneuver kung para kanino sila. At least madali nilang i-justify kung halimbawa pumanig sila sa Vice President o kaya hindi. On the other hand, pag ang scenario naman is that sabi niyo may damning evidence against the Vice President, it's very hard to vote in favor of the Vice President. Pag ginawa nila yon, baka yung kanila naman political career ang mag-suffer. Oo, very popular ang Vice President at this point. Pero if the people see it na dapat siya i-convict based on the evidence, based on the merits, and some lawmakers would not convict her, baka mag-suffer yung kanilang winnability pagdating sa susunod na election, pag mag-re-elect na sila.
That's right. So, ang tanong ko dito, Doc, what does PBBM need to do this next 2 to 3 years to regain his kingmaker status? Kasi if you remember, si former President Joseph Estrada, even after he was ousted or he stepped down, there was the term, the so-called term, Erap Magic. Na kung sino yung tinaas ng kamay ni Erap noon, if you remember that, Doc, medyo tumataas ang numero and mukhang wala pang ganong clout si PBBM.
Yeah, I agree with you with your last statement. Wala pa ho ganong clout si PBBM. Well, sorry to say, wala I think for the past, how many years na ba siya? More than 3 years. Parang, in fact, nung nanalo siya, kaya siya nanalo, was not because on the strength of his political base, but rather because he rode on the popularity of the Duterte.
Unite yung dalawang base.
Yes, nakinabang siya doon kasi clearly nakita natin yung mga pre-election surveys bago sila naging magkaalyado. Mas nangunguna pa bilang presidential candidate si Vice President Sara Duterte. Na noon mayor pa lang ng Davao City.
Yes.
So nung nagkaroon silang tandem, nag-grab off sa kanya yung popularity and support ng mga pro-Duterte voters. So up to this point, makikita rin natin sa surveys na andun lang siya sa safe spot na simple majority of the Filipinos trust him and support him. So I don't think that yung ganung klaseng yung kanyang leadership is really very popular and is capable of turning being converted if say for example if he endorses a candidate kung yung successor niya, I don't think yung kanyang status would translate into electoral victory for the person that is going to endorse for the 2028 presidential
Unless
election.
the candidates from another big coalition.
Yeah, baka baka makapanalo pa sila kung magkakaroon sila isang big coalition against the Vice President.
Another unit team.
Pero ako, last na lang on my part before we let you go, Prof, do you think also na yung mismong presidential sister, isang factor din siya sa pagbaba ng rating ng Pangulong Bongbong Marcos, and with what's happening also with the Senate na kung ano-ano na yung pinag-uusapan nila.
Senator Amy versus Senator Ping.
Lihis na dun sa argumento ng budget but naging personal attacks
circus
na rin. Oo. What do you think of that?
Hominem, rather than focus on the issues, naging ad hominem attack na.
Yes.
Attack on the person, may tungkol na sa peluka, may tungkol na sa pustiso, at saka yung mga botox. Well, anyway, nakakalungkot po kasi yung level ng political discourse natin napakababaw. Talagang mas gugustuhin ng mga politiko natin na patulan yung mga ad hominem attacks. Kasi mas nag-enjoy siguro panoorin ng mga Pilipino at saka pakinggan na nag-aaway-aaway yung mga natin, yung mga politiko. In the same way na inaaway ni presidential sister Amy Marcos si President parang yan maganda yan, it's a form of entertainment but definitely not helpful in clearing out some issues. Maari, it's possible na nakatulong to drag down the survey numbers of the president, pero alalahanin natin that it's not the first time that such allegation regarding the president's use of illegal drugs came out in the open. Ginawa niya ni former President Duterte. And wala namang significant impact. Mas popular naman si President Duterte kumpara kay Senator Amy Marcos. Although yung kay Senator Amy Marcos naman, yung kanyang istorya ay based on personal experience. Kasi kasama sila sa bahay, na-witness niya. But we don't really know the truth behind that. Yun, so yun ang problema, magulo yung kampo ng Pangulo sa ngayon.
Alright, sige. As always, maraming salamat po sa inyong insights. That was Professor Delis Coronacion from the USC Department of Political Science. Thank you so much.
Salamat po.
Kumbaga naging circus o naging teleserye na ang politika sa atin.
No comment.
Oo. Ako, ito, hindi to peluka.
Tingnan ko nga.
To, Benson yan. Hindi to peluka, in other words. Diba? Totoo yan.
Okay.
Don't go away because we're not done yet. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
The peso slid to a fresh record low on Wednesday. The local currency weakened to 59.44 against a dollar from Tuesday's close of 59.34. The peso touched an intraday low of 59.45, another all-time record, and intraday high of 59.35. This breaks the previous record set just last Wednesday when the peso closed at 59.35 to the greenback. The currency has been on a steady decline since October last year when it first reached the record low set in December 2024.
The Marcos administration is reviewing the pension program for military and uniformed personnel as costs rise due to recent pay hikes for active members. Retired personnel's pensions are automatically tied to active salaries, so increases in basic pay also raise pension benefits. Budget Secretary Rolando Toledo said 6.3 billion pesos has been set aside for the pension increase. This is part of a 21.7 billion peso fund for base pay adjustments, with 15.4 billion pesos allocated for active personnel. Toledo assured MUPs that the 2026 budget prioritizes their welfare and that funding is secured.
PLDT and SMART, in partnership with government agencies, are boosting digital access across the Philippines through education programs, disaster preparedness, training, and online safety campaigns. Mobile journalist Denise Valdesancho has the report.
For more than 2 decades, PLDT and SMART have helped build communities, working with government and private partners to expand digital access and strengthen public services across the country. Leaders from various agencies recently came together, marking a new chapter for the PLDT and SMART Communities program and highlighting how connectivity and innovation drive nation building.
Reaching out to other communities is all about heart. And every time you do something with your heart or you do something for someone else, there's nothing that's hard.
Anchored on the PLDT and SMART Communities program, these partnerships bring technology where it is needed most, supporting education, livelihoods, disaster preparedness, and digital inclusion. In education alone, one key initiative is the CVIF Dynamic Learning Program, launched in Sarangani in 2017, where nearly half of enrollees are indigenous peoples. Designed to be simple and effective, the program uses concise, contextualized learning materials.
Itong learning activity sheets na kasama ng Dynamic Learning Program ay nakakatulong when it comes to contextualization. Ang learning activity sheets kasi very concise. In a sheet of paper, makikita mo na doon sa concept digest kung anong competency ang gusto mong ituro sa isang bata.
Beyond education, disaster preparedness is also a key priority. Working with the Office of Civil Defense and local disaster risk reduction offices, more than 44,000 individuals have been trained with 61 Ligtas kits deployed across the country. During calamities, services such as Libreng Tawag, Libreng Charging, and Libreng Wi-Fi help communities stay connected when it matters most. PLDT and SMART also work with the Department of Justice and the Interagency Council Against Trafficking for the #BeCyberSmart campaign, reaching more than 125,000 individuals on child online protection and responsible digital citizenship. Looking ahead, PLDT and SMART plan to further expand connectivity, including state universities, as part of their commitment to inclusive digital access.
We're going to be moving and working with the government to be able to put connectivity in the state universities. The private universities, I think they're rich enough to put connectivity, but state universities and eventually the different, the lower schools, right, to put connectivity. But we don't stop there.
Kapatid Denise Valdesancho, we are One News.
Yeah, may utang ako na quote sa mga kapatid.
Yes. Basta abangan nila 4 days from now, January 19 is the resumption nga nitong investigation,
Blue
Senate
Blue
Blue
Ribbon?
Ribbon, tungkol nga dito sa Anambol
Naku, maganda
Spot
tignan niya kung
Project.
pumunta doon si Senator Amy.
Yes, and of course, yung isang sinabi ni Senator Ping Lacson yesterday sa kanyang press con kung ma-establish daw yung direct connection nga ng dalawa ni Sara Diskaya and former House Speaker Martin Romualdez
through the
because of
property
that
being
property
bought.
that was purchased in Makati.
Yeah.
Oo.
Pinurchase daw ni allegedly
meron sila.
former Speaker
Parang
Romualdez using the Diskayas.
Yeah. Abangan nila yon.
Alright, that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
And I'm Angelo Castro III. Kapatid, we are one news.
All sides, all the time.